Good evening, everybody. This is Swedish Chef 2024. I hope that everyone is doing well. I wanted to make this video about APBA baseball and a little tip and helpful hint that I actually discovered just playing some games today, and it involves the hit and runs. So on the game board, it says for realistic results, the squeeze and hit and run plays must not be overused. I try to keep the squeeze play and the hit and runs at a bare minimum. I usually try to use it like once a game. Squeeze plays will happen. Usually I'll use those if it's in the bottom of the ninth or in extra innings and the home team is at bat and we need to get a run in. And if we're just not having any luck with the sacrifice fly or driving anybody in, it's basically one of those desperate times call for desperate measures kind of moves. And I will then call for the squeeze play. And either it's going to be successful or it's not. Now with hit and runs, in the past what I've done is tried to keep them at a minimum of one, and it'll usually happen when I have a slow runner. If the hitter is a slow runner at the plate and I have a fast runner on first or fast runners on first and third, and we're trying to stay out of the double play, then I will call the hit and run. But I came across a situation earlier today, and it was when I was playing the Dodgers and the Giants. And by the way, the Giants took 2 out of 3 from the Dodgers in my 1981 replay. Fernando won the game where the Dodgers did beat the Giants, and Fernando struck out 14 Giants players. So he's got 29 strikeouts on the year, or excuse me, 25 strikeouts on the year. And he struck out 11 in his first game, which I actually did upload on YouTube a few weeks ago. And if you haven't seen that video, you can go back and check it out. That was the game against the Houston Astros. And Fernando struck out 14 in his next start, which I just played this morning with the Giants. And what had happened is that the Dodgers, I called the hit and run play in a couple of games, and they had a couple of players that got thrown out trying to steal. And I noticed that if you have a card, and I'll use an example here, this is Lou Piniella's 1981 card. And Lou Piniella, as you can see, we'll put it back up there real quick, is a slow runner. And if you look at his card here, he's only got 1-1, and that sounds funny saying that, where you roll a 66 and that's a home run. It's a 1. And he's got a single column card here. So in this type of situation here, I would use the hit and run if I had a guy on the team that did not hit a lot of home runs. And I know that some of you might say, well, that's self-explanatory, or that just seems logical. If I have a guy that is, say, like a Keith Hernandez. Keith Hernandez was not a big home run hitter. He had some power, but I would use the hit and run with Hernandez because he had great bat control, and he often did utilize the hit and run with St. Louis and then with the Mets. But what I've discovered is that if you have a batter, even if he's a slow runner, but if he can hit the ball out of the ballpark, or he can drive one into the gap, it's best not to use the hit and run. If you have a guy that can hit the ball out of the park or can drive it, because chances are that he still can get that runner to third without the hit and run, because you don't want to have your runner get thrown out trying to steal because of a botched hit and run. But if you have a guy like Piniella here who didn't hit many home runs, he only had 5 in 1981, and he's only going to have a 1 once on his card. So if you have a guy that doesn't have any home runs on his card, yes, utilize the hit and run. And with Piniella, that's what I will do in the future. As one lesson that I learned here today is to use it sparingly and not to waste a runner on the base, which I had to learn that lesson, you know. And that's what we do with these games, is we're always learning. And I'm certainly doing that with APBA baseball and the football game. I was watching Dave Gardner playing APBA football this morning. I didn't get to see it last night, but I did get to see it this morning. And every time I watch an APBA football stream, I go, dang it, now I'm going to have to play it again. And I love playing APBA football, but I am trying to get this APBA baseball replay completed at least before October. But I'm having so much fun playing both games. And what Dave was talking about in his stream last night with playing APBA football, and in his previous stream, just talking about how the games flow. APBA baseball and APBA football, two different games by the same company, but they both feel like they have great rhythm, and being a music person that I am, it really is great to have rhythm that works. And that's how I look at these two games here, is they really have a nice rhythm, how they're moving. Yes, the football game does take longer to play. It takes about 3 hours, sometimes longer. But if you're playing it for many years, you'll just kind of zip through it a lot faster. The baseball game takes about maybe 30 minutes, maybe 40 minutes tops if you get into extra innings. But then once you start getting into the rhythm of it, I'm getting to the point now where I'm starting to know the plays. I can actually guess what the play is without looking at the book, but I'll still refer to the book anyway. I haven't gotten to that point now where I can't, or I don't need to refer to the book. And I've seen people playing APBA football where they just shake the dice and they call the plays, and I'm going, how in the world do they know that? But I guess if you've been playing the game for many years and you've been playing it nonstop, not nonstop, but when you've been playing it frequently, that you just get into the habit. And I presume that I will get to that point someday with the baseball game. Football is a little bit more complicated because there's just so much more happening. You got flags, you got penalties, you got fumbles, you got injuries, you got this and that. Something's happening pretty much on every play. And speaking of APBA football, I will be playing the Oakland Raiders and the Denver Broncos next. And last week I was on vacation, and I was watching that game, week 1 of the 81 season, and it was an NBC telecast, and it's on YouTube, and I was watching it, and I was having so much fun watching it. And it actually aired around my birthday, my 9th birthday in 81, and I was just sitting there watching this on my vacation with the grainy VHS or Betamax, wherever it was recorded off of, and the screen and the quality wasn't great. But you know what? I had so much fun watching that telecast. And I don't remember that game. If it was a game from, say, 87 or 88, I would have more of a memory of it and say, oh, okay, I remember this is when the 49ers had a comeback late in the 4th quarter against the Bengals or something like that. These games here from 81, I've been watching these games and having so much fun going back. And the baseball games, too, I was watching. That was another game I watched, was the NBC Game of the Week. It was the Dodgers and the Reds. And again, the same thing, the quality wasn't the best, but I loved it. It was great. And it's like seeing something again for the first time. And I love it. And it's one of the many reasons why I am enjoying playing cards and dice. And that's what Dave was talking about, the magic of cards and dice. And it's so true. Earlier tonight, I had an experience where I had Tony Armas at the plate here. And this is the first time that this has happened. I'm sure it'll happen again. And I'm sure many of you will go, oh, that's happened to me all the time, man. But Armas, it was a tie game, and I'm sitting there going, okay, 66, boom. And he gets a 3-run home run. Just like that. Magic. 3-run home run. Tony Armas hits one out of the park. I just felt it. I mean, like I had intuition, like he's going to get something good's going to happen here. And you ever have those feelings in life when you just feel like something good is going to happen? I know that there are many times when we think that and it doesn't happen, but there are just some times where you just feel it and you have that positive image in your head and you project that, and then it just feels like, a self-fulfilling prophecy there. And that's what happened is Armas got the home run. Oakland took 3 out of 4 from the Angels, but I got to tell you, the Angels, man, they got some lumber. They can hit. Pitching, not so much, but they can hit. They got some hitters. Baylor, Gritch, who else is on the team? Disco Dan Ford, Rod Carew, Brian Downing. I mean, they got some hitters on that team. They can hit. Pitching, they have a couple guys there, but not so much. But Oakland did take 3 out of 4. Oakland is 6-2 on the season. They were 8-0 in real life. And I recently posted the standings of the APBA baseball replay on the Facebook group for Digital to Dice, which I highly recommend that you join that group, by the way. And this happens in every game. It happens with Out of the Park. It happens with Diamond Mine. You're playing a historical replay, and the stats, like the standings, don't quite match up. Like when you first start the season, and you're wondering, why is it that Oakland started out 8-0 in real life? Well, actually, they started out 12-0. But in my replay, they're 6-2. Well, I'm not sure how things are going to go in this game, but I imagine that they're going to match pretty much what the realistic stats were and the standings. But just like playing games on the computer, just because a team starts out a certain way, whether it's a slow start when in real life they had a really good start, or if they got off to a fast start in this game and they're playing unusually well and in real life they weren't so good, you might be scratching your head and saying, well, wait a second here. This team was an absolute dumpster fire in real life. Why are they playing so good in this game? Is there something wrong with the game? Is there something wrong with the engine? No. Because most of the time, I would say 90% of the time, those results tend to work themselves out. If the Oakland A's, they start out 6-2, that's not bad. By the end of the year, they should be a first place team or pretty darn close to it. So my point here is that the standings tend to work themselves out. And I think the statistics, so far, the stats that I am compiling are working themselves out. They're turning out pretty close to real life so far. A small sample, it's only been a couple of weeks, but they're matching the results pretty closely. And my advice here is don't get discouraged. Whether you're playing APBA baseball or Stratomatic or whatever game you're playing or football, and if the standings don't mirror exactly as they were, don't worry about it. You're doing a replay, you're not doing a replica. And like I said, things tend to even out during the course of a season. So if you have a guy like Ricky Henderson who's not stealing as many bases, trust me, he'll have them. He'll be there. If you have a guy like Andre Dawson in 1987 who's struggling, he actually did get off to a slow start in real life that year. As you notice, my Cubs shirt representing the Cubs here tonight. I actually picked this up at an Old Navy back in 2017, I think it was. And so representing the Cubs tonight. But yeah, if you get off to a slow start, things tend to even out in these games, and certainly in cards and dice. And it's just so much fun playing. The computer games are great too, but playing the cards and dice, it does really feel special when you roll that 66 or doubles and something positive happens. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed my video. Have a wonderful evening, everybody. I'll see you soon.